Today, I'm going to talk about the absolutely exhausting spiritual fight that we are all in as believers. Can we get out of it? Has God given us any help? Let's talk about it. This is Morning Meditations with me, Pastor Ryan Hayden of Bible Baptist Church. To hear more or find out more about our church, visit BibleBaptistMattoon.org. Does the 24/7 culture and political war we are in ever wear you down? Do you ever just feel exhausted by the constant scandals and fights that seem like you can't get away from them? I know in my own life, despite trying to put serious limits on social media and cable news and political podcasts, I still go through periodic bouts of despair, depression, and fatigue because it just never ends. And I was thinking about that yesterday, and my mind went to Ephesians chapter 6, verses 11 and 12. Let me read those verses to you. They say, "Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." Now, there are three relevant truths in these verses. First, I think these verses tell us that Christians are going to face spiritual darkness and that darkness ultimately comes to us from Satan. According to verse 11, Christians have to stand against the wiles of the devil. Wiles is an old English word for dirty tricks or tricky methods. In other words, Satan is trying to defeat Christians, and he has all kinds of tricky methods up his sleeve. Not only that, Satan has help. He controls the principalities and powers and rulers of this world. He's got representation in government, in media, in culture, and more or less, he's in control there. So we're going to face spiritual darkness. That's the first truth. A second truth that I think these verses teach us is that wrestling is a normal part of the Christian life. Now, if you've ever wrestled or done any kind of hand-to-hand combat, you'll know it's absolutely exhausting. A few minutes of fighting can feel like years, and it just leaves you feeling tired and beat up. Once in college, I wrestled a guy for about 15 minutes, and I don't think I've ever felt more sore or tired. So I think this means that the spiritual and cultural wars are inescapable, and that engaging in these wars, it's going to wear you out. Now, I'm not saying that means that we open up the fire hose that is the modern media and try to just drink from that thing. What I'm saying is that if we're to be faithful Christians, we're going to have to engage in some spiritual fighting. And that fighting is going to be wearisome. Which leads me to the third truth I think we can get from these verses, and it's the hopeful part. Third, I think these verses teach us that God has given us the armor that we need to survive. God isn't sending us into this spiritual battle like the Russians sent soldiers into the Battle of St. Petersburg in World War II, with one working rifle for every couple people. God has given us everything that we need, not just to stand, but to win in this spiritual warfare. For the next week or so, I'm going to be making videos looking at the spiritual armor that God has given us. And tomorrow, I'm going to talk about the importance of truth. For today, just remember this. We are in a spiritual battle. Not fighting isn't an option. The enemy is going to come at us. We need to use the armor that God has provided us.